Right? I'm a never Trump guy. I never liked him, and but I've noticed this willingness from people who think a lot like I do that look, we told you so. To all these white working class voters, we told.
Back in 2016, JD Vance was part of the Never Trump conservative wave. He described Trump in very harsh terms, calling him things like reprehensible and comparing him to figures he believed were dangerous for American politics. At the time, Vance was aligned with a more traditional Republican, pro-globalization, establishment-leaning worldview. So what changed? I have a list with 5 reasons. Number 1, the ideological shift of Vance. Over time, Vance's worldview moved closer toward populist anti-globalization views that overlapped with Trump's. Number 2, the Republican base became strongly pro-Trump. For a politician building a future that matters, aligning with the GOP was important, since the coalition of the GOP was clearly toward Trump-style populism. Number 3 is a major but under-discussed factor. Vance moved into a network of donors and intellectual figures who were already pro-Trump or post-Trump realignment thinkers. That ecosystem included Silicon Valley-adjacent conservative financiers and nationalist-leaning policy circles. That environment no longer treated Trump as an anomaly, but as the central axis of the new Republican coalition. Number 4 is the Senate run. When Vance ran for Senate in Ohio, he made a decisive political calculation. Being anti-Trump was a liability, but being pro-Trump was a gateway to victory. After endorsing Trump, he eventually secured Trump's support. In conclusion, JD Vance's ideological evolution caught up with the center of gravity of the Republican Party. Politics 101. But before we dive deeper into JD Vance, we need to take a look at his past. JD Vance was born in Middletown, Ohio in 1984. His early life was marked by family instability, poverty, and his mother's struggle with addiction. Much of his upbringing came from his grandparents, whom he later credited with helping him avoid a destructive path. After high school, Vance joined the U.S. Marine Corps. He served for 4 years and spent time in Iraq as a military journalist. The Marines gave him structure, discipline, and a path forward. Using the GI Bill, he attended Ohio State University and graduated with honors. He then attended Yale Law School, where he entered elite academic and political circles and met his future wife, Asha Vance. After Yale, Vance worked in law and venture capital. During this period, he developed a relationship with tech billionaire Peter Thiel, who would later become an important supporter and mentor. Vance became nationally known after publishing Hillbilly Elegy, a memoir about growing up in a struggling Appalachian family. The book became a bestseller and turned him into one of the most recognized interpreters of America's white working class after Trump's 2016 victory. Vance won election to the U.S. Senate in 2022 and took office in 2023. Although new to politics, he quickly became one of the most visible voices of the Republican Party's populist wing. In 2024, Donald Trump selected Vance as his running mate. After winning the election, Vance became the 50th vice president in January 2025, making him the first millennial vice president and one of the youngest people ever to hold the office. Besides being the vice president, JD Vance's influence comes from the fact that he sits at the intersection of several powerful networks and institutions at the same time. Direct access to the president, the Republican Party, which sees him as part of the next generation of leadership. Vance built relationships with influential technology investors, placing him in the middle of the AI defense tech revolution. And unlike most politicians who come from either elite institutions or working class communities, Vance can claim both. His story allows him to speak to rural voters, business leaders, and conservative intellectuals. His influence is not just political. He represents a broader movement that argues America should focus more on domestic strength, globalization should serve national interests, foreign policy should be more selective, and technology and industrial capacity are national security issues. JD Vance wants to rebuild American industry, secure borders, strengthen families, and use American power more selectively abroad. Turn America into a powerful nation state instead of a global hegemon. But that vision puts him in opposition to a man many consider one of the most powerful political influencers on earth, George Soros.